Not many of us would think to go to a tailor when we went to buy clothes, but once upon a time, artisans were the prime purveyors of high-end garments and accessories. In today's market of mass-produced clothes, there is still a handful of craftsmen who make custom pieces like the qipao, a tight-fitting Chinese-style dress. Today, in our Sunday Special report, we take a stroll into the world of slow, made-to-order fashion that's designed to be treasured for a lifetime.
Walking into Wanhua District's Bopiliao historic block, 76-year-old Zhong Chunzhong stops to snap photos while recalling memories of his childhood. Photography is a hobby Zhong developed in his childhood. By trade, he's a professional jeweler. His family has run a gold jewelry shop for 3 generations. Zhong's day starts as the store's display window is lit up. Under the store's lights, he is bathed in the glitter of gold, jeweler and jewelry each shining resplendently.
Those getting married or celebrating mothers' and fathers' birthdays all come here to buy. Business was best at the start of my 20s. Back then, business was the best, and my work was never complete.
In that era, orders from weddings and birthdays alone were enough that the store had to hire a dozen or so jewelers. Their salaries back then were comparable to a bank manager's. Zhong began making jewelry at 17 and is still at it today in his old age. Gold is heated to 1,200 degrees Celsius until it gives off a milky white light. That light means the gold is soft enough for the jeweler to mold it into new forms. As the mallet hits the gold, a sharp clang penetrates the air. Each strike is made with a deliberate force at a calibrated angle. Chisel in hand, he carves out a delicate pattern. Zhong has spent countless days hunched over a narrow workbench, but not once has he complained of being worn out from his work.
If you're doing something out of interest, you'll do it well. You won't feel tired doing it. He sits there all day, and if I ask him if he wants to go do something fun, he just ignores me.
Zhong is hailed as a jeweler with an artisan spirit. It's praised for his level of skill, which is in the realm of art. And even after all this time, he still has the love for the craft that he started with. Similarly dedicated to his craft is 67-year-old artisan Chen Zhongxing. Having started at 13, Chen followed in his parents' footsteps, crafting qipao, traditional Chinese dresses, in Taipei's then bustling Dadaocheng area.
If the lady next door wanted new clothes for the Lunar New Year, or if there was someone in the family getting married, they would come and have a qipao made. In the early days, in the entertainment district, there were a dozen odd qipao shops, and they would each have at least 2 dressmakers. Back when business was booming, we had 5 or 6 dressmakers working with us.
In the making of a custom qipao, the materials and patterns are chosen by the customer. Next, the dressmaker will cut the materials to fit the customer's body measurements. Each dress is highly unique, and it is unlikely 2 people will end up wearing the same dress.
我觉得很多人对旗袍有一个误解，就是觉得旗袍好像一定要身材很好才能穿。
I feel that a good number of people misunderstand the qipao. They think you need to have a nice figure to wear the qipao. Actually, I'm a person who often wears qipao, and I have discovered that qipao is magical in how it adorns the body. If you look closely at its handcrafted elements, you'll see that everyone's qipao is different. We say that Europe is known for its haute couture high-end custom fashion. Well, qipao is the high-end custom clothing of the Chinese people.
For a time, qipao and custom-made jewelry were treasured goods in Taiwan. But both began to fall by the wayside in the 1980s, when new machinery ushered in mass production.
这样东西要大量生产，那当然它就会开一个模下去，用铸模的方式。
If you want to mass produce something, then of course you need to make a pattern, which you will do by using a mold. The difference between handcrafted and molded things is, I should say that handcrafted things are much more durable and much more easily repaired. Its lines are more refined.
因为成衣出来了，还有一个原因就是6000年代。
The qipao's decline was due to the advent of ready-made clothing. Another reason was due to the fact that in the 1960s and 1970s, qipao were very, very tight-fitting. It was popular to wear tight-fitting qipao then. Well, to be honest, it's really not convenient to move around in such tight-fitting qipao.
In modern society, efficiency and immediate gains are highly prized. Under these circumstances, the processes of traditional artisans can't keep up in terms of speed or quantity. But some argue that such metrics don't capture quality.
大家有没有想过，我们处在一个太讲究速率？
Have people ever considered that we live in a situation where people are too concerned with immediate gains, where everyone wants to see fast results? But are those really good results? Sometimes that's not necessarily the case. What we're doing is, we're trying to promote what we call slow workmanship, or rather, slow work that produces refined workmanship.
一袋才2钱哦。
会啊。
好啊。
看你外当拢会使啊。
好啊，家己换好啊。
Custom jewelry is unique, and the craftsmen who make them patiently communicate with the clients to fill their needs. This type of closeness between maker and consumer are things that mechanized production can never replicate.
我要做旗袍。
哦，李小姐你好。
你好你好。旗袍做了安怎？
A customer of Chen's for 30 years now, Li Yufeng's closet houses 200 qipao custom made just for her. On this visit, she's not only here to order a new dress, she's here to implore Chen to go with her to an event held by a qipao enthusiast group. It's Saturday here at Dihua Street. There's a stage at this bustling center. One by one, these qipao enthusiasts take to the runway to show off their dresses. As a maker of qipaos, Chen also walks the runway. Throughout the event, close to 100 people participate, making the qipao fashion show a success.
以前甲即卖有啥物差别吗？
包括大楼去店无共，现在这是
大楼都无共。
Young people mix with shop owners, together designing a tour of the old street. Qipao shops and tea shops are worked into the tour. Visitors are encouraged to enter the shops and gain a sense for what is local culture.
对于喜欢职人手艺人来说，这是台湾目前正在面对的课题。
For those interested in artisanal crafts, an issue faced by Taiwan at the moment is the disappearance of the traditional arts. So we need more people to focus their attention on this. The national treasures among us are inside the alleyways.
Taiwan's artisans spend their entire lives focused on doing one thing well. These crafts that are born out of time and reflection are the fashion items of everyday Taiwanese people.
One customer talks about it to another customer. They wear their qipao out for the joy of it. If Taiwanese wear qipao when they go abroad, people see it and tell them, "Your clothes, that qipao is so beautiful."
People used to say that wearing gold is old-fashioned. I told customers it is also possible for old-fashioned to be beautiful. Handcrafted things have a handcrafted feel to them. Something that's a bit off kilter can also be beautiful. It's different from the rest.
Always transforming and always improving, craftsmen work with nothing but their hands, keeping the flame alive for local traditional arts.